We come to the questions and
Es wurde gesagt, der Bundesrat habe schon am Donnerstag Beschlüsse gefällt.
It was said that the Federal Council made decisions as early as Thursday in order to re-establish confidence. It was important, but it wasn't communicated. Why do you tell us this as late as today, and how was this to help confidence if it wasn't made public? Well, on Wednesday evening, it became clear that the Credit Suisse asked the Swiss National Bank for this liquidity bailout, and then we extended this bailout on Thursday and also decided on this backstop. We were convinced that it was important up until the weekend to make this liquidity available, to get through without any interruption, to then on Sunday at the latest be able to present a package. Now, if we had come on Thursday to say, oh, the Federal Council needs agreement of 50 million liquidity, and then we need an additional liquidity vis-à-vis the National Bank to the tune of 100 billion, then this would have undermined confidence and would have sown the seeds of insecurity in the national markets. And we discussed this together with the financial department, and this would have increased this insecurity. It would have been piecemeal, every day something else, 50 million, then 100 million. This would not have calmed down the situation. Now, had it been the case that the backstop had to be adjusted, i.e. the 100 billion of the National Bank had been used up already, then we would have to communicate very clear, because then it would have created security. But otherwise, we were of the view that this would have been counterproductive.
Mr. Feusi,
did I understand you correctly that the shareholders, the holders of bonds and the lenders, all of those, that they got away with it, that we saved the Saudis and their boss who on Friday night backstabbed the CS eventually and put the knife in?
Also dazu möchte ich festhalten, dass wir ja den AT1
I would like to say that AT1 is part of the too big to fail regulation, which provides that the bonds, and we're not talking about small investors, we're talking about institutional and larger investors that are held by those that they would change and be converted into equity, and this was part of the too big to fail regulation, and this was triggered here, and therefore the investors also have a share, as you mentioned. Well, insolvency is a painful solution for those who hold those shares, but it is a legally correct solution.
Ja, Sie müssen weiter drücken. You have to push while you speak.
Okay. John O'Donnell from Reuters. One of the big lessons from the financial crisis was that there would be no more public bailouts of banks, and also that banks that were too big to fail wouldn't be created. And yet the decision today creates a bank which is even bigger than any bank which has ever existed before in Switzerland. And also the vast majority of the cost of this bailout is borne by the state and the Swiss taxpayer. Could you comment maybe on that, and also perhaps about the division of cost between private investors and the Swiss taxpayer?
Well, I don't know if the question goes to me. I mean, I have to state that very clearly. This is no bailout. This is a commercial solution, because we have a takeover of UBS. Well, UBS is taking over Credit Suisse. So this is a commercial solution and not a bailout. We really wanted to avoid a bailout for different reasons. But I just maybe come back to the question of the too big to fail framework. I mean, the too big to fail framework couldn't have been applied here really, because usually this is applied to a bank that cannot meet its liabilities anymore. And here we had a problem of liquidity. So it is not typical at all, And as I stated in my introduction, also the bankruptcy, the bankruptcy of Credit Suisse would have had a collateral damage, a huge collateral damage on the Swiss financial market, also risk of contagion for UBS and other banks, and also internationally. So I was in contact with my colleagues from UK and USA. They are very grateful for this solution because they really feared that there could be a bankruptcy of Credit Suisse with all the losses. And, the taxpayer in this scenario has less risk. I mean, the bankruptcy would have been the highest risk because the cost of the economy would have been huge, the Swiss economy. Then I would say that any other scenario that could have been imagined in the too big to fail scenario would also have had more costs than if you have a private partner, a bank, a solid bank that says we take over Credit Suisse. What we do is something that is, the governor of the central bank pointed it out, is a instrument that is well known in other jurisdictions like the UK or the US, which is the PLB, which is a guarantee to the central bank. It's not money we give to Credit Suisse or UBS. So we find that this solution is the best solution, and I hope it will also be welcomed by other jurisdictions.
Können Sie sagen, ob morgen der Handel mit der
Could you say
ausgesetzt wird?
whether dealing with the CS shares will be suspended tomorrow? And secondly, was it subject of the debate within the Federal Council to which degree the management of Credit Suisse is responsible, in part at least, for the loss of trust and confidence?
Wie das ausgesetzt wird. Ja.
Wissen wir, ob es ausgesetzt wird?
Do we know whether trading will be suspended, was the question.
Das Management der Credit Suisse bleibt im Platz.
Management of Credit Suisse is
kurze Zeit
going to remain in place. There will be a short transitional period for the weeks up to the closing. Afterwards, Credit Suisse will be a subsidiary of the UBS Group AG, and UBS Group AG is going to then appoint management and the board.
Second question as far as the General Council is concerned.
Und nein, wir haben nicht so viel Zeit genommen, um einfach wie sagen wir das, die Rechnung tragen über die Vergangenheit. Aber es wird nicht gemacht. Wir
didn't spend too much time dwelling on the past.
Eine Lösung.
The work was very complex in order to have a solution in the short term for liquidity up to now and also for the next few days.
Oui, Madame.
Yes, madam.
Something I haven't quite understood, those 50 billion plus an additional 100 billion, or is it 100 billion in total with regard to liquidity and the backstop?
Die Herr Lehmann vorher erwähnt hat und die Credit Suisse bekannt gegeben hat, ist mittels traditionellem, normaler ELA, das heißt,
we have no more traditional ELA, i.e. emergency liquidity based on collateral. Over and above that, for Credit Suisse, we had a total sum of 50 plus 100, i.e. 150 billion as additional liquidity that we can draw on. 200 in total, yeah, if you add to this normal ELA, then 200 in total.
Ein bisschen erstaunt,
Mr. Burkhardt.
da könne man keine Beschränkungen machen. Wir haben jetzt 200 Milliarden Garantie der Nationalbank.
200 billion, guarantee 9 billion by the federal government, and then unlimited bonus payments to the management of the bank. Is that not a little bit difficult to explain to the taxpayer?
Es handelt sich nicht eine Bankrettung.
It's not about a bailout. These are instruments
die sowieso zur Verfügung stehen, oder?
that are available internationally anyway. ELA,
also diese Liquiditätsunterstützung,
the liquidity support is something that any large bank can apply for at any time. In Switzerland, it's perhaps not quite as common, but Mr. Jordan can talk about this. It does happen abroad that a kind of bridging support is needed. This liquidity was increased also compared to other countries. The National Bank is quite restrictive in case of bottlenecks with regard to liquidity, or in UK or the United States, as it was intimated earlier, whatever it takes, the liquidity is just injected in order to stabilize the problem. What we give here is a guarantee vis-à-vis the National Bank and not vis-à-vis a bank, and therefore this is totally unrelated to this question. It would be different if the government had to bail out Credit Suisse. Then the regulation about pay and dividends would have been applicable, but this is a guarantee vis-à-vis the National Bank. Article 10A of the banking law, a systemically relevant bank, if this gets support by the government, then the Federal Council also requires additional measures for pay, because this is indirect national support. Well, liquidity support that a central bank makes available to a bank is not considered It's about liquidity support to cover bottlenecks with regard to market development. This cannot be compared with a recapitalization or buying back certain assets. It's liquidity support against the collateral, or in this case, against an insolvency privilege. This is not something that would normally be classified a bailout.
One last question.
Welche Folgen hat diese Fusion für die Arbeitsplätze in der Schweiz?
What repercussions does this merger have for jobs in Switzerland? How many jobs will be lost?
It's far too early for us to say on that at the moment. We're only just beginning the process of consolidation, assessing the impact. But obviously, we also see opportunities for people in this new combination. So we will update you when we have news.
Madam.
Merci. How can CS shareholders get something but bondholders of AT1 were wiped out?
Well, we needed, so the AT1, the whole package has the intention to stabilize the financial system and to assure the stability of the financial system. And for this transition phase, we needed the capital, and the foreseen instrument in such a situation as in the too big to fail instrument is the AT1. And so this is why we've chosen kind of to stick into this, to still stick to this too big to fail framework and to trigger only the AT1.